Well, legend has it he doesn't need to mow his lawn because he's convinced his grass to stop growing. I'm Steve Zagman. With me is our Green Thumb expert, Rick Vuyst. Rick, it looks like it's July, flowers are blooming, it's warm. What's going on today?
And the garden doesn't give up in July, Steve. Like this beauty right behind us. This is known as a smooth hydrangea or hydrangea arborescens, or some people call it seven bark because the bark peels off in layers as the season progresses. But the great thing about it, Steve, is that it's one of the hydrangeas that blooms on new wood, the same year's wood. So in winter we cut it back, and the following year it blooms its head off, like you can see. As a matter of fact, the heads get so heavy and large that it tends to flop down.
Droop down, it looks like.
Exactly, when we get some rain or some wind. But I thought I'd maybe show you a few other beauties out in the garden right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of peeling bark, nine bark is a popular plant in the landscape, also known as Physocarpus. Beautiful foliage all season long, and the bark once again peels. Steve, I love lilies in July, whether you call them Asiatic or Oriental or bulb lilies. These guys look almost proud looking up to the sky. And along the lines of lilies, Steve, these guys right here, their flower heads point down, almost look embarrassed by their beauty.
What makes a lily a lily?
Good question. Basically, these lilies, and there's so many different varieties of lilies because they're easy to pollinate. You can see the male part of the flower here and the female receiving part of the flower here. And so cross-pollination among lilies is so easy. These are herbaceous perennial daylilies, and they're a workhorse in the landscape in the summer, Steve. And like their name implies, the flowers last just a day, but there's so many of them, we get to enjoy them throughout the whole month of July.
So those lilies look really interesting, but this is not a lily, this is different.
We go back to hydrangeas where we started out today. The first one we saw was a smooth hydrangea, or some people call it Annabelle. These are panicled hydrangeas. And the reason, Steve, that I focus on those two today is because they're some of the easiest hydrangeas to grow because they bloom on the same year's wood. So panicled hydrangeas like Quickfire or Pinky Winky are easy for most people to grow, and oh, I tell you what, they sit around and come up with great names. And they're not the only thing that goes kabloom in July. It's not just fireworks, Steve.
Well, that's pretty cool. Lots of different flowers blooming in July. I'm Steve Zagman. This is Rick Vuyst, and thank you very
much.